Hello, I'm Joe Wren, and welcome to Indiana News Desk. Lawmakers return to the Statehouse next week for the start of the 2014 legislative session. Our Statehouse reporter Brandon Smith joins us now to preview 4 key issues likely to dominate the session. Brandon, it seems appropriate to start with the proposed constitutional amendment that would define marriage between solely a man and a woman. This is going to be more, though, than just a yay or nay vote in the House.
Right. It will go through the legislative process much like any other piece of legislation, which means first it has to be filed, then it will be taken up in one House and sent to a committee. It has to pass that committee. It has to then pass the whole House. That process starts over again in the other House. The only difference really between this amendment and a regular piece of legislation on any given year is that the governor doesn't have to do anything with it. Normally he has to sign all legislation. This is one that he would not have to sign if the House and Senate pass it. It would go directly to the voters on the ballot in November. And
Freedom Indiana has spent a lot of time drumming support in opposition against this amendment, and we've heard from universities, major universities, city officials, mayors, and business leaders too.
A lot of companies around the state are coming out against this amendment. I think, though, that the biggest impact that Freedom Indiana and the coalition that they've built will have is if this gets to the voters. For the most part, lawmakers are going to vote the way they're going to vote and are not going to be swayed too much by all of the noise they're hearing outside the State House. It passed overwhelmingly in 2011. It will probably pass again this year if it comes up for a vote in both houses. It may not. It almost certainly won't pass by the same margin, but it will probably still pass.
And then how about those who are in support of this amendment? Is there a lot of noise at the State House in that level too?
They're staying more quiet, certainly more quiet than Freedom Indiana has been. They're working a lot on the local level in terms of in the church community. A lot of reaching out to pastors and reverends and church leaders on this issue to talk to lawmakers. But again, I think the real fight that we'll be gearing up for, that both sides will be gearing up for, will likely be at the ballot box.
Okay, and then just really quick, 30 seconds, how do you think this will all shake out in the end?
That's really tough to say. I think it passes the legislature. There was too much support last time to see it all go away this time if legislative leaders decided to have a full vote, which they've said they will likely do. But I can't say what will happen in terms of Indiana voters because there's a lot of conflicting information in terms of polls as to what might happen.
Sure. Okay, moving ahead to the criminal code legislation, some worry that it will overpopulate prisons. Will this be revisited?
It has to be. The law doesn't take effect until July of 2014 on purpose so that they could still tinker with it and during the upcoming session. The biggest question that's still maybe unanswered is what impact it will have on the prison population. We've seen conflicting reports as to whether it will explode the prison population, keep increasing it, slow it down, or stop it completely, or even reduce it. And that's the biggest thing that I think lawmakers are still trying to figure out. The whole or a huge part of the focus of this reform effort has been on trying to increase focus on treatment as opposed to incarceration. I've talked to Matt Pierce.
I mean, you have to really scale up the treatment, and one of the things that the fiscal people have asked us to do is to try to give them a more concrete sense of what are the actual programs that will work and what are the actual costs of those programs. And what do you need to invest in to really make it work on the ground, because they're nervous about putting a lot of money into something and not having it pan out. So that's good. The great thing about the approach we have is we're taking things that have already been tested someplace and proven to work, and we're adjusting that for the state and getting into place, and then it's a matter of scaling it up to all the counties.
One of the things lawmakers were told during this summer study committee session leading up to this session was that the cost to local units of government, to local programs, will be about $10 million a year. Now, we don't know if that's going to be the actual figure, but it seems that there's some consensus that that's the starting point, that if we appropriate $10 million for local programs, local treatment programs now, that gets the ball rolling.
Okay, next is the business personal property tax. First of all, what is it?
The business personal property tax is a tax on business equipment, so anything from an office chair to a laptop to factoring machinery. And it brings in about $1 billion a year, and that all goes to local governments.
And legislators want to get rid of this or reduce it, but there's obviously a big effect on that.
There is, and really this is something that the governor has proposed, and some legislators are starting to back it, but there's been a lot of sort of balking at eliminating the tax entirely, even from Republicans who obviously share the same party with Governor Pence. And one of those Republicans is Milo Smith, a Columbus Republican, who's also a tax advisor.
I'm real concerned about eliminating the tax, making it harder on local units, because they've told me they've already looked at ways to combine services and that they really can't combine any further, and therefore they're going to want a new tax. And I'm just real uncomfortable with creating a new tax.
That is not an opinion that is alone, certainly. A lot of people feel that way. The governor has been sort of short of proposing a lot of specifics as to how that money might be replaced. He's talked about a very slow phase out of the personal property tax. He's talked about maybe only eliminating it on new purchases that would really phase it out extremely slowly, but there's still a lot of questions unanswered as to how we replace that money.
Okay, next topic. Governor Mike Pence says he plans to push legislation that would expand health care in February. He's meeting with the head of the health care.
Yes, he's meeting with Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius sometime in late February. It's sort of thinking of it like two different tracks. Governor Pence is approaching it from the administrative level with the federal government. The legislature might have to wade into this area, though, because they've sort of left it mostly untouched. Going back to last session, where there was some legislation, but it didn't really go anywhere. They left almost everything up to the governor. This time they may have to wade in a little more in case the governor's plan, which is to expand using the state's existing Healthy Indiana program, if that doesn't work, if that doesn't fly with the federal government, we'll have to come up with something else to bridge the coverage gap.
Okay, well, thank you for all the work that you've done at the Statehouse this past year, and we're going to be looking forward to a lot of interesting situations this upcoming legislative session. Thanks so much,
Joe.
Brandon.
Thank you.